Selwyn, nice to speak with you this arvo. What's the latest on Tom Sparrow?
Yeah, Tom's continued to progress well through the concussion protocol, completed a session on the weekend, and he now has the next 2 phases to go through, which involves some incidental contact and then a full training session. So we're hoping that he'll continue to progress well and be available for selection this week.
Can you give us an update on Jack Henderson, on how he's progressing with that groin issue?
Yeah, Hendo just had a little bit of groin pain come up over the last couple of weeks. He'd been managing it really well and is a really diligent athlete. But just during training last week, his symptoms increased a little bit, so we chose to take a conservative approach. He continued to train over the weekend and we'll assess how he progresses through the week. The goal being returning him to full training and making sure that that groin pain settles before we return him to competition.
What's the expected timeline for Stephen May?
Unfortunately, Maisie had that concussion late in the game. He's recovering from that and was in today. Still has a few symptoms, so as per the concussion protocol, he'll only progress as those symptoms allow. We'll just have to assess his availability over the coming days and how he progresses through that protocol.
Ollie Seston suffered with that facial injury. Where's he at?
Yeah, unfortunately, Ollie was due to return from the hamstring injury and during training received a knock to his face, which unfortunately meant that he had a fracture to part of his face, which required surgery. He's since had some surgery, which he's recovering well from, and will look to be back into the program later this week. Unfortunately, it means for him that he will miss the next 4 weeks as he recovers from that. But luckily for Oliver, it still allows him to get some conditioning in and some skills in a non-contact environment. And then once we have clearance from the surgeon, we'll be looking to increase that contact and hopefully we'll see him play again towards the end of the season.
And finally, do we have any more clarity on Jake Lieber's ankle injury?
Yeah, so Jake had an injection last week, which he had a really positive response for. Now we're just in the process of reloading that ankle, making sure that function is really good. His pain has decreased substantially from that injection, which is great, but we know that this next phase is really important to ensure that function and strength are back before we can return him to training. So we're still working through that process with Jake. Ultimately, the goal is to return him to peak performance and hopefully have him back this year, but we're taking it one day at a time.